It's now time to begin our conversation on the Millennium Development Goals. It's supposed to be achieved by 2015. How well has Nigeria met with the 8 goals that have been highlighted by the United Nations? Johnson Chukwu, the CEO of Carry Asset Management, is here with me in the studio, and we'll be talking about achieving these MDGs. Good morning.
Good morning.
Johnson, for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
When we talk about Millennium Development Goals, I have 8 goals here, and with other sub-goals, which can also be referred to as targets. And we look at the time frame, 2015. What comes to you? And if you look at that in line with our level of growth and development of the country?
Well, I would think what we have done, if you look at the report card of Nigeria in achievement of the Millennium Development Goals, we have a mixed report or a mixed performance report. In some of those goals, Nigeria has done relatively well. Some other goals, you could actually say we've not done too well, given the level of resources we have. So you have to look at it on a goal-by-goal basis. If, for instance, you look at the issue of infant, to reduce the level of infant mortality, and then you also look at the issue of improving the health of mothers. Okay, that's maternal health. You could actually say we've done relatively well. We've improved a lot. I mean, you've seen a reduction from about 800 deaths per 100,000 beds to about 545 deaths per 100,000. But that's still a lot compared to what they have in other countries. But you have to look at each of these goals and look at how Nigeria has fared. But I think it's a mixed bag.
Okay, a mixed bag. Oh, we're going to start with the first goal, which is to eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. So what's your assessment in that direction?
Well, if you look at the report that was presented by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, it says about 60.9% of Nigerians are still living in abject poverty. That's quite humongous. If you also look at some other reports, United States Embassy in Nigeria said Nigeria had about 65% poverty level. That's also very huge. And the report by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics actually indicate that the incidence of poverty is increasing. But you have to juxtapose that to the level of improvement in nutrition. If you look at it in terms of nutritional level, you actually see some improvement in nutritional level among Nigerians. And that you have to recognize that, look, because of the improvement in agricultural activities, agricultural performance, the rural areas are beginning to see improvement in their living standards. Maybe that has not been captured, but give and take, you still have high incidence of poverty because we have a huge population. A lot of Nigerians are still unemployed or underemployed. You see a large population of families that cannot afford 3 square meal a day. And the measurement of poverty in the case of Nigerian Bureau of Statistics is that they must be earning an income, you must be living on at least $1.25 per day. And they are saying that about 60.9% of Nigerians are living below, at an income of below $1.25 per day. So you still have a huge incidence of poverty in as much as you have an economy that is growing. If you look at the growth of the GDP in the second quarter, it was about 6.54%, an improvement over 6.21% we had in the first quarter. The economy has to continue to grow. Over a period of 5 years ago, we've seen consistent year-on-year growth of an average of more than 6%. But the key thing is you're not having inclusive growth. You still have a lot of Nigerians that are really living in abject poverty. And the millennium objective goal is that you need to reduce the incidence of poverty, abject poverty. I don't think we have done so well in reducing that. Yes, you've seen some improvement, particularly the impact of improved agricultural productivity. So you've seen some improvement, but we've not done as much as. If you look at what China did, over a period of 30 years, China was able to reduce the high incidence of poverty drastically in their country. But we're talking about a period of 15 years because the Millennium Development Goal was for 15 years, 2000 to 2015. And we're almost getting to the end of that timeline.
Okay, I'd like us to touch on the issue of the rural areas. And of course, the Ministry for Agriculture and Rural Development has been doing quite some work in terms of improving agricultural development in the rural areas, as of course that's the name of the ministry. And sometimes some analysts and experts have questioned the parameters and the yardstick for measuring the level of poverty in Nigeria, especially with the statistics that are usually released. Less than just over 60% of Nigerians live under
Less
a
than
dollar
yeah,
a day.
$1.25.
That has always been a question that's been raised time and time again. But let's look at what has been done in the rural areas. Agriculture development, agriculture expansions, the issue of having to reduce Nigeria's food import bill, all of these measures, all of these success stories, as the case may be, are they in a way contributing to the realization of the MDGs?
Yes, as I said, there's been an improvement in terms of nutrition. The nutrition, if you look at this, when people measure poverty in Nigeria, they fail to recognize that, look, they are farm produce that are consumed by households that may not have been factored into their income. I mean, if, for instance, you look at the rural dweller who produces his yam, tubers, does his cassava, okay, goes to the farm, harvests his maize, and it lives on these things. He may not have been captured appropriately measuring how much he lives on a daily basis. So if you look at terms of nutritional content that even the rural dwellers live on, there's been some improvement. If you look at income, their income has not improved so much as their productivity has increased. Simple reason because a lot of the state government have not built infrastructure to support productivity in the rural areas. And let me explain what I mean by that. If you look at a situation whereby there's improved production, so what has happened that the harvest has improved, but in terms of extracting value for the improved harvest, that is still being trapped by the traders, by the middlemen. Simple reason that because when the rural dwellers find it difficult to access the markets, I mean,
which
markets where their products are in the cities, then the middlemen will come to the rural areas and pay them peanuts. But because they have increased volume of goods, I mean food products, so they're now competing to sell their products to the middlemen. So they have to sell at lower prices, and that's what's happening. So they are not tracking the benefit of their increased productivity, because in the urban areas, the food prices are still increasing, and which is why the inflation rate is increasing. But in rural areas, the prices are being still bought at the old prices or even below that, because the rural dwellers do not have the necessary supporting infrastructure to take their goods to the urban areas or to transport their goods to the urban areas at reduced cost. If you take, for example, the village where I come from, there's no road to the village. And the villagers have improved seedling, because when I ask them, they say, look, they can now produce rice more efficiently because they farm rice in my village. They farm yam, they farm cassava. They are producing higher volumes of the same products using the same land mass. I mean, that which is increased productivity. But the challenge they don't have a road to the next locality. And therefore, the middlemen who struggle through that bad road to get to the village to buy their products, buy those things at bargain prices because they don't have alternative. And therefore, the productivity they are seeing improved, their improved productivity, they are not being able to trap it in terms of income. And that is being trapped by the middlemen. So for us to have a reduction in poverty, and this is not only applicable to my village, it occurs across most villages in the country. For you to have improved income or reduce the level of poverty in those localities, in those rural areas, the state government need to support the agricultural initiative of the federal government by building the necessary infrastructure. If you go to a state like Anambra State, where you have relatively good road network, you've seen, that's one thing that the former governor of Anambra State said at some point. He said, look, they looked at poverty map and they realized that the poorest communities in their state were those communities that completely lack infrastructure. And they decided to build infrastructure to those communities. And immediately did that, they improved the living standard of those communities. And I think a lot of state government need to emulate what Governor Peter B did in terms of building infrastructure across the state.